Well, that was weird. Welcome to Flow Tricks. It's Ken. It is Monday. So Sunday. I had a little gig. Well, mostly my performers. We haven't been working really this year, and we finally had our first get together and our meeting, and we're going to try to move things forward a little bit cautiously, but forward. So that makes me pretty excited. Welcome to Flow Tricks. This is our live stream. Usually it's on Sundays. I was out yesterday, and this week it's going to be a little bit busy too. I just want to cover that a little bit, and then I'll say my hellos, and we will cover topics. First and foremost, though, just want to thank, of course, all the Patreon donors. And also want to give a good shout out to Dark Monk and Flow Toys. Dark Monk makes my awesome training chucks as well as most of my fire gear. And Flow Toys, they make my LED chucks. My LED chucks, my LED staves, those beautiful vision staves. They do a lot of my LED work. They're an amazing company as well. Those are the sponsors, and I want to talk about this week really quick. So this week is my 43rd birthday. Thank you. It'll actually be on Saturday, but I'm going to get out of town for a little bit this week. So it's going to be a little bit quiet on my side. I'll get to whatever I can, but keep in mind, when I come back next week, we'll be hitting the grind pretty good. My whole plan is that this year has been really crazy for me, and so I'm throwing a big celebration on my birthday, getting out of town. I'm going to do... It's not skydiving, it's zip lining. I'm gonna do zip lining in Colorado, and it's gonna be great. But the whole point is to try to just kind of end this chapter where it's been a little bit, where I felt like life's been a little bit out of control, a little bit crazy, and move back into things. So when I come back, I'm gonna be coming back with my fire out, ready to just rock out. And I want to do a little bit of renovation with Flow Tricks, of course. I want to breathe some fresh air into it, and I also want to start looking at getting some Flow Tricks shirts and things of that nature, but we can talk about that later. That's just a little bit of additions, just letting you know that this week's going to be a little bit hectic on my end. So the live stream on Sunday is canceled, and for Pro Tricks, we'll talk about it in the Pro Tricks group for anyone that's in there, but we'll work on a workaround with that one as well, because I want to make sure everyone gets quality training and no one loses their inspiration. Just got to do this for my birthday, though. Like, I just got to get away, so when I come back, I can be refreshed. I don't know why I have this knife, and ready to go. This is a training knife, though, by the way, so that's good to know. I'm sure you're wondering. So anyways, that's all I have to say. I think I had a request from Sam Roller to cover the archer weave, and I'm going to cover it a little bit more in depth this time again. Even though it's a very challenging weave, we'll cover that. If you have any videos to send me, I'm more than happy to review again. I mean, I'm here for the next hour to an hour and a half, depending on what kind of questions we have. So please ask questions. That's the whole point of the live stream, is so I can help you. So let me know what your questions are. It's best to type it in YouTube. I tend to get those a little bit quicker, but you can also send it to me. Excuse me. You can also send it to me in Facebook as well. I'll read that. I just don't get the messages on my screen like you guys can see. So that said, I'm going to give some shout outs. Okay, I'm going to give some shout outs here. Santiago, what is up? The very first. I know, like, this probably is going to have less people because we're on a Monday. So this is just one of those things where I wasn't able to do it yesterday. Hey, how's it going, Ray? Good to see you again. Well, see your name. You can see me. I can't see you this time. Ike Flow, what's up? And there's Eric Galvin. And oh, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Charles, hi Ken, awesome to see you again. Yeah, you too. Great to hear from everyone. I can't see you all, but I can see your little pictures, your avatars. What have you all been working on? What's been challenging you? What are some pitfalls that you feel like maybe you need a little bit of help with, or share something that you feel like is something that was helpful, or something that helped you get through, or something inspiring. I'm more than happy to hear it all. How's it going, Halikoa? And Charles, this is great. Okay, so we've got the crew in. Now, I almost feel like I just want to start spitting and training instead of talking because I do that a lot. I tend to get carried away. So with that said, please get your questions, get your messages, whatever you need to ask me. Go ahead and send it, and I'll come back to that. I'm gonna cover the archer weave a little bit. The archer weave is for nunchucks. Let me show you how this looks. We'll cover this. Give me just a second here. All right. So the archer weave, well, let's get this light. Good old lighting, always got to get it just right. Oh, there we go, okay. The archer weave is doubles nunchuck move, and the archer weave kind of looks like this. What we're going to do is we're just going to thread it back and forth. You can also kind of keep your hands straight. You're basically taking a 3-beat weave and you're breaking it into patterns, and it's going to give you the ability to basically do a 3-beat weave and roll it up and down your arm. As well as rolling it up and down your arm, you can also kind of do it in flow where you can go from straight from a 3-beat going into your weaves, and you can roll it around your whole body. So it doesn't have to stop here. You can actually change directions and change sides with it as well. Just a nice little, it's a nice little variation to being able to do when you're able to do a 3-beat weave and you want a little bit more challenge. Now, one of the things that can be helpful with learning this, and again, this is for Sam Roller. He's not online right now, but he asked for a little bit more in depth. So one of the things that I like to say is before you do this, you can always do it with just one chuck to start with, because you're essentially doing it with 2 chucks. So we're going to start with this, and what you're going to do is you're going to hold your arm straight out, like this. Your arm goes straight out, and what you're really thinking about doing is holding the chuck to the outside of your body, tracing a line all the way to your shoulder, and then it's going to swing diagonally and land underneath your armpit. And the moment the nunchuck is facing upwards, it's going to push forward. When I say the nunchuck facing upwards, I mean, you see how this chuck is facing upwards? That's when I do my pull. So this is called a float. If you're not familiar with how to do a float, it's going to be a little bit harder to do this move. So let me show you how a float works first. So what this looks like is basically 2 floats. There's going to be one that comes from this side where the chuck is on the bottom going down, and then there's one where the chuck is going up. A float is basically like a stall, except for we're pulling it along a line. So for instance, if I were to, a float would be like this. So like we can take a chuck, stall it, and drop it down. Whoosh. See, so it's almost like if you're spinning a circle, if you just moved your hand up and down a line, you can kind of see how it just kind of almost gets stuck, almost stalls out, and then we just pull it down, and that kind of creates a float, right? And what we're trying to do is 2 different kinds of floats. The first float is not too hard at all because you get to hold it upside down, so gravity is on your side and you're pulling it from here to here. So from here, you start here and you pull a float over all the way back to there. That's probably the first thing you can do, and even that's just fun to do. So even if you're just doing a figure 8, you can slash down and just float it behind your arm like that, and that's kind of a cool move in itself. So you can be like, rah, rah, whoosh, you know, whoosh. You don't have to like do it with doubles is what I'm saying. But that's the first one. Get it to stall downward, pull it back towards your shoulder. Well, you know, technically it is kind of curving and moving, so it's not a complete float, but it's good enough. We'll go with that. And again, the way that this works is you can start off going nice and easy and slow. Try to get it to stall to the outside of your arm and pull it backwards. Whoosh, like that. Now, this is kind of an awkward position to be in. So let's go ahead and go over this idea. And we're going to go over this idea by holding your arm out first. And we're going to do it far away from here. This is what I want you to get used to doing, is this. Because this is the move that we're trying to do, is this. And basically what it is it's a spin to the outside of your arm, right here. And then it's the same thing we're doing to the armpit, but it's a little bit easier when you hold your arm out first. It's here. And what we're going to try to do is we're not going to add a beat to the outside. It almost looks like a figure 8 above here. If you look at my hand, we're doing a figure 8 above the hand and a figure 8 below the hand, right? Except what we're doing is cutting out the spin that's to the outside of here. So it's almost like half of the figure 8 spins down and does the other half of the figure 8. So we're going from above to below while omitting this part of it. So what this is going to look like is here, and then we're giving it just a nice swing, but we're giving it just enough room so we can clear the arm and get underneath it. So here to there. So see if you can do this. Now, to get back up, you do have to figure 8 it once out, but you can kind of feel this how this goes. So you can go boom, boom, swing out, boom. That's kind of the motion. I'll do it again. So top, bottom, right. Top, bottom, right. Top, bottom, right. Top, bottom, right. So top, bottom, right. Top, bottom, right. Top, bottom, right. It doesn't go top, right, bottom, right. It doesn't do this. Otherwise, those would just be basically 2 figure 8s, right? So we are doing this figure 8. We're just cutting out one of the right sides. So it'd be top, bottom, right. And that's the 3 beats. I mean, you can see those are the 3, when we're talking about a 3-beat weave, those are the 3 circles that you're creating. It's just we're now positioning it at different points of the body. Real quick here, I just want to make sure I don't have any questions about that one real quick. And thank you again for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate that. I never thought 43 would feel like this. Do a tutorial on chain manipulations. Absolutely. Once I get done with the archer weave, let's go ahead and go into chain manipulations. Just write that down real quick. Chain manips. That's from Charles. All right. Chain manipulations. Flow, I've been working on a 6-point staff anti-spin. That's awesome. Wow. Do you have a video of that? That'd be great. Eric's having troubles with doubles with nunchucks. Troubles with nunchucks. Ray is happy about the archer weave. That's good. I feel like I wasn't able to explain it well enough last time, so I'm trying to break it down in a little bit easier. Ken, it's Gary. How did that event go yesterday? It went really good, Gary. Mostly it was a meeting with my team so we could get back to performances and talking about how we can navigate through COVID. It was really good seeing everyone. I pretty much canceled my performance group up until yesterday. I mean, we really haven't been doing much at all, just because of COVID, and now we're just trying to figure out, we're just trying to make battle plans so we can get things moving again. It was really, really good, really eventful. Holy Moly says, what are some props similar to chucks that you could borrow tricks from? I'll do that one too. What are props similar to chucks can borrow? And Adrian says you're amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to share. Just trying to share the love. So we can have the next gen of spinners come out and they have a tool to express themselves. All right, we're gonna go back. Remember now, as you can see, this is doing 3 circles, right? And if you look at this extension now, if you know how to do these 3 motions, which is above, swing it to below, and then swing it to the outside, the only thing we're adding are floats to it. So now if you go like this, we're going up, we're floating it up, so we're going above, floating it back, going to below, floating it forward, and then adding the extra beat just so we can get it back to above to float. Forward, see? So it's the same thing, it's above, below, to the front, but now we're adding floats. So it'll be above, float, below, float, to the right, and back. And that is the hardest part of this weave. Be able to do it with both hands too. You gotta be able to do it with both hands, so that way, when you use doubles, you can swing straight into it. When we're doing doubles archer weaves and we start working like this, it's because both hands know how to slide through the arms. So this move right here is basically, me doing this weave, but the moment that I swing to the front, the other hand, which is already crossed above, you can see, I'll show you what this does. This one's already above, so the moment my hand slides forward, my left hand can slide backwards, and it's above, below, to the front. Now as I add the extra beat, as I do the extra beat, that goes to the outside, that's the time that this hand is going backwards. Here to here, swing it to the front, and then it's going to be the exact opposite, and it just goes on forever and ever that way. So what does the other hand do while you're weaving backwards? Because obviously if I did this, now here's another thing to keep in mind. If you hold your chuck straight sideways and you try to like weave backwards, it can get in the way. So make sure that you hold the chuck pretty close to your arm, or at least at an angle where it's not sticking horizontally. Because if I do this, if my chuck is spinning this way and I start to archer weave, they're going to crash into each other because this gets in the way. So make sure that the chuck is kind of close to the parallel to your arm. It'll make it a lot easier to be able to get into this. I generally, as you can see, I generally try to keep them pretty close to my arms in the same direction. Basically, the other hand is just doing 2 beats. It's just going back and forth. So when you first work this archer weave, you can go like this and then pull it back. See? And then you can just kind of keep working it back and forth like this. Back. And again, it's over, under. Instead of doing a beat, though, if we're using 2 hands, the other hand just goes back. 1, 2. 1, 2. Right? And what happens though is when we want to get them both to work, you're going to notice now watch my front hand, the hand that's extended out. You're going to notice it's just a figure 8. See? So that's all it's doing is a figure 8. Look at the front hand. It's making 2 beats into a figure 8. Just like a 3-beat weave, how you have one hand that creates 2 circles and the other hand creates 3 circles, it's very similar. Now I know it looks complicated altogether, but I really hope that helps. I'm going to go over that one more time just so you understand one more time. Circle above, circle below, circle to the outside. That's how you do it with one. And then what you do is you do a circle above, float, circle below, float, spin to the outside to get it ready to reset. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Right? And then when we get 2, it's a little bit different, but not too much. It's going to be circle above, circle below, and then the moment we get to the front, the other hand is going to go to above and below. But when I said, you have that extra beat to the outside, it's just doing figure 8s. You'll do 2 beats of a figure 8 is basically what happens. And then you just go back and forth. It's a never-ending motion. And the cool thing about this, I've talked about this in the Pro Tricks class because this is actually, Sam is part of the Pro Tricks and he was the one that requested this move. The cool thing about this move is it's the same speed, the same kind of pattern as a 3-beat weave, the same timing. So if you ever get lost on your timing or it doesn't feel right, just do a 3-beat weave to feel it again and you can go back to extending it. The way it works from here is the moment that the right hand gets ready to cross over to the top, so we're here, crosses and uncross. We go to the other side, it crosses and uncrosses, and now my right hand's on top. That's when we start off the weave. So on my right side, when I slash up, I'm just going to slash and extend and go straight into it. So it's here, whoosh. And then all you have to do, the cool thing is all you have to do to get your weave back, it's so simple, is just push your hand up and don't pull one back. So you're here, just don't pull any arms back and you'll be doing a 3-beat weave. Pull the arm back, and we're back into archer weaves. So they're like brothers. The archer weave and the 3-beat weave are like brothers. They are literally connected. They're like almost like twins. So I hope this helps. That's a little bit more in depth and a little more analysis to help you with that archer weave. I think it's a beautiful move. There's a lot of crazy things. Oh yeah, there's a lot of crazy things you can do with it. Eventually you'll be able to, just for fun, you should be able to eventually do hand rolls. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I shouldn't have done this so fresh. But eventually you can do hand rolls while you're archer weaving. And that's a whole nother ballpark. That's probably one of the harder moves. It's probably one of the hardest moves that I can do right now. And I need to practice it more so we can level it up and get even crazier moves. Right? All right. I'm gonna answer some more questions, and then I've got my list of questions, starting with chain manipulations from Charles, but let me just go down the line and make sure here. All right. Akifla says, I'll put together a video soon. I just need to round up filming. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. A 6-point anti-spin sounds great. Sounds great. I want to ask, Alpha Zero Omega says, I want to ask about how long the rope lasts in your Dark Monk chucks before you need to replace it. I have never replaced my chucks yet. True story. I'll tell you what kills most chucks is high velocity circular spins. That will kill your chucks. So like when people are like, I mean, I feel like that's usually what kills chucks. I can't say that will kill everyone's chucks, but just the intense friction of the rope against the edge is usually what, basically wears it out. Myself, I don't know what it is. I haven't broken any Dark Monk ropes at all yet, though, since they were released. But I have had it's like some of the ends come off a little bit due to wear and tear, and things of this nature, but I've never had problems with the rope myself, not yet. It's starting to get a little bit, I'll show you. It's starting to get a little bit frayed. You can see that the fray is starting to, but it's not that bad at all. You can see a little bit of fraying, but not much. So I figure when it gets down to about, I don't know, it's probably lost about 10%, but I figure once it gets down to about 50%, I'll probably contact them and get that replaced. All right. Osama Rishwan, best master ever. Thank you. Halikoa, never saw the archer weave. That is sick. Oh, it's a great move. Archer weave is a great move, and it's it's an extension of the figure. It's an extension of the 3-beat weave. I feel like they go together really well. And anything that includes like a lengthening of keeping it away from your chest, because most of us nunchuckers, we keep things so close to our chest, it's almost like we're holding a ball of light, and some of the best moves are like extending just because we don't have a lot of moves that go out that way. So definitely worth learning. Osama says, I bought a nunchuck a few days ago and now I play quite well after your videos. That's amazing. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to see your videos too. You know, I'm not going to be here this Sunday, but next Sunday we're going to do a live stream every Sunday, of course. That's what we shoot for, at least through this crazy COVID. And then even after COVID's done, I have a feeling this is just, there's going to be something. We'll probably keep these live streams going. I definitely want to keep this momentum going because I love talking to you guys. I think I love it more than making videos where I don't know if I'm helping anybody, but they're cool videos, right? So, Halikoa says, it's difficult, but I'm getting it. That's awesome. That's awesome. I feel like that's everything, right? Everything starts off hard, and then it gets easier and easier, and then one day you're like, how did I ever not get this? That's just how you level up, you know? Charles, what's your thoughts on Lee Barden's Pro Chucks? I used to own Lee Barden's Pro Chucks. I am not I'm not a huge fan of them, and I'll tell you why. Pro Chucks are smaller versions of nunchucks. They might be, I don't know, like here's a regular nunchuck. A Pro Chuck might be about, it's probably about as long as this knife. So it's a lot smaller. And the rope is literally, it's almost non-existent, right? So they're like speed chucks. The rope is like this much, right? Now, I'll tell you, like, just because I'm not a fan of it does not mean I have not seen those awesome videos of Pro Truck spinners. I think they're great, but they're not my style because I love chain manipulations. I love the ability to work the center a little bit too much. I love having this flexible center at the cost of control. Now, Pro Trucks, I think there's a couple things. One, if I had to hit someone like as a weapon, I'd use Pro Trucks. Because the level of control is fantastic, and I think they would hurt. The one that Lee Barden made for me way back in the day, those things were devastating. They were awesome for weapons. And the throws are really good too. The throws are super controlled because anytime, the longer your rope is when you do a throw, the more slack you have to give it before you release. But when you have something that barely has a rope, just like if you threw a stick, it's a lot easier to control. There's a lot more control in your throws and your stalls. But I really miss the center. I really love having long rope. Or longer rope. Enough rope to be able to do chain unwinders, finger spins, thumb spins of that nature. All the cool combos that are not accessible. There's pros and cons, though. Like I said, it's really dependent on your style. But for my style, for my tastes, also, especially when I'm performing, I find bigger objects tend to get more applause. So it's hard to get applause with nunchucks. Not impossible, of course, but it is hard to get applause with nunchucks. With little chucks, usually the best way to get an applause is through throws. Like you have to do these high and mighty throws and people will love it. But generally speaking, I find it's easier to, I don't know, from an audience perspective, I find like they're a little bit more entranced by like fire chucks of this size as opposed to smaller ones. From a spinner standpoint, though, they are pretty cool. It's just not my style. And then from a martial arts standpoint, I'd rather use Lee Barden's chucks than regular chucks any day, for sure. I have so much control and speed with those things, and they are fast. All right, Santiago. Wow, Ken, terrible moves. You're a genius. First, Jocker says, "Hey man, do a badass nunchuck trick right now." you know how many times that's like the funny request. Like, do something cool. Yeah, do a badass move. Let's see. Should I light it on fire and burn some stuff? I love your videos, by the way. Learned a lot of stuff by watching your tutorials. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. There's nothing better. Really, there's nothing better than helping you guys. Like, because I've got a save the world complex. I feel like when I look back on my life, I want to know like I helped a lot of people. And I know it's nunchucks. It's not like I'm like in a hospital, but I feel like at least I'm helping people express themselves. So hopefully you guys are using this through when you're feeling good or bad or anything, and that is awesome. Or even winning some martial arts competitions or performing, all that makes me happy. I love hearing you guys' success. So Okay, I'm gonna do one more, and then I'm gonna go ahead and teach some techniques. Carlos asked, "What are fire chucks made of?" And fire chucks are made of usually some sort of heat-resistant. Well, some like the dark monk ones are. God, I can't. Carbon fiber, and then they're wrapped in special, very special, like. I'm totally losing my thought right now. Okay, so the fire is made from Kevlar wrapping. Kevlar wrapping is kind of like, like Kevlar vests, but they turned it into like a sort of cloth that can be wrapped around and lit. You definitely don't want to build your own, and I have seen someone try to light fire chucks by using a pair of socks, and that is the worst. It's so bad to use certain kinds of things that can burn and fly off. Kevlar can last, it won't fly away. In the old days, people used to make fire chucks with wood and then use aluminum tape, but those would still burn through. Like, there's still some issues. Nowadays, they use carbon fiber and aluminum, and then they wrap it with Kevlar, and it tends to work really well. That's what they're made of, really. And then the rest of it is, really, like I said, and this is with any fire thing, and I always got to say this, which is, anytime you're interested in learning fire dancing, you should never, ever go to YouTube to get the final word. Get ideas off YouTube, go to Homopoi and get their fire safety tutorial, their fire safety DVD. But it's always best, anyone that's interested in learning fire dancing, I gotta say this because there could be some kid watching, anyone that's interested in learning fire dancing, though, definitely seek professional help locally. Make sure that you have a local fire dancer that's professional, that has done shows, that understands fire safety, and have them teach you. Because there's nothing that beats, it's just like martial arts. You can't learn how to defend yourself by watching some guy on YouTube, because you need the reactions. You need someone throwing a punch at you. Otherwise it's all theoretical. So definitely get some help locally. Get some help locally if you're interested in fire dancing. But I can definitely give you some ideas for how to do it. But I really would feel comfortable if you contacted people. Now, if you already did this, now I'm not saying that Santiago, that wait. Who asked that? Oh, shoot. Yeah, Carlos. Sorry, I called you Santiago. That Carlos knows fire dance. He might already know it, so this is more of a general disclaimer I always like to say to everyone anytime I talk about fire dancing, just because I don't know who's watching. All right, bro, you're the best. Thank you. I really appreciate that, you guys. I really do. That means a lot. Carlos, thanks for your opinions. No one is ever as in-depth on explaining chucks. You're the best, most intelligent teacher ever. Thanks for all you do, bro. Oh, you're welcome. No, that's awesome. Gosh, you guys are making my day. Shoot. I really do appreciate that. It really does mean a lot that it's helpful. Santiago, how many years of experience do you have to get to the level you have? I don't really know, because even when I was... I'll show you here. Give me a second. It's more about what you put in than how long you've been doing it. So if we go to my YouTube channel, oh wait, that's not my YouTube channel. Where is this? Here we go. Is this it? Boom. If you go to my YouTube channel, and then we go to free stuff. Let's see, chuck off. How about that? This was me 3 months into spinning nunchucks. So I thought I'd show this to you because this is a 3-month progress video. Now, I did know martial arts, but all this was just making up moves, basically. Not bad. Definitely not bad. It's a little wonky when I look at that, like I took some risky moves here that I wasn't in total control of. There's a little bit of flipping around, but this was 3 months of training, which is why I wanted to show that, because most of this was just explorations and just coming up with new stuff. I think the question's a difficult one to answer, because you could get away with performing with a lot less experience or training, but there's just something about when you've done it hundreds, even thousands of times, that you feel on the inside. So the problem is I don't really know what my level is. So I see a lot of people that spin, and I'm totally comfortable with my nunchucks. I definitely would put myself at an advanced level, but for some reason, every time I go down that route, like you've seen, that was me 3 months into it, and I'm not trying to most of that is me exploring ideas that haven't been explored. So a lot of it looked really cool at the time, and it got me first place in this competition for Freestyle Nunchaku Forum at that time, because there are moves people haven't seen before. But that's just me exploring ideas and being able to pull them off. And then I couldn't pull it off regularly though, which is, there's a good saying that goes, don't train till you can get it, train until you can't miss it. You know what I mean? So like you train until you can't absolutely make a mistake, basically, instead of like being able to nail it once. I guess I'm not sure how to answer the question though. I think the level just comes with the amount of work you put into it, multiplied by the amount of passion that you have for it, multiplied by your ability to adapt and be critical of how you see things. There's definitely like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's where we go with that one. Sorry, I couldn't give you a good answer. Let's just say 5 years. I think 5 years is good. But seriously, I've seen people that have just gone ballistic and crazy in 2 years. But I mean, they're eating, breathing, sleeping it, and so that's just, I really think like someone with a lot of passion that adapts well can learn so much faster. Because if you optimize the way that you train, if you optimize the way that you perceive training before you start training, you'll be able to get past hurdles that people, it's kind of like when someone is decided that 1 + 1 = 3, I know that sounds weird, but if you have preconceived notions about how to do things, or if you don't have a way that you approach your training, you could actually hinder yourself in making it last longer, whereas you can take shortcuts if not. And also, honestly, that's why like teachers are so helpful. It's just because they just give those little pieces of advice to help you through. All right. Before I read any more, I'm going to help. I got these 3 questions with Chucks, and then I'm going to go back to reading these. I just want to make sure I don't lose these questions, because Charles was looking for some chain manipulations. All right, so chain manipulation, and it's funny because I called it, you guys know I called it chain manipulations back in the day because I did not like ropes. And now rope is all I use. It's just great. I have to clean this off though, because that is getting a little bit there. So chain manipulation or a string manipulation, anything that involves basically moving the chain around or the string. We're going to call them string manipulations. Anything that has to do with this type of manipulation is a chain. So we're going to start at the beginning. We're just going to do a couple of them. Obviously, probably the easiest one is going to be the moon wave. We're going to go over that one really quick. Pretty simple to do. So what you're going to do, when I say pretty simple, I just mean like of these moves. I'm not saying that if you can't get it, it doesn't mean you're not good. Keep that in mind. I just mean of the moves, this is the most simplest. What you do is you put your thumbs underneath the tabs of the rope. One hand slightly moves in front of the other like this, and then you're going to open up your hands, and the chucks are just going to fall. If they crash into each other, your hand's not forward enough, and the chucks are just hitting each other. But if one hand's in front of the other and you open it, they cross like that. But from this standpoint, it looks like it crosses almost like into itself, which is great. This is the illusion. The moment they cross, and if they hit each other, move one hand forward a little bit more and try it again, and you'll notice they cross. The moment they cross, what I'd like to see you do when you open your hands is to close them over the other side, and it'll allow you to grab it where you have the chucks in locked position. This is a moon wave. There's variations of the moon. There's a lot of variations you can do with that, but this is probably the easiest chain manipulation you can get away with. Boom, boom. And then like a couple of things you can do is you can do a moon wave, but instead of keeping your hands still, when you open your hands, lift it up. So with this one, what we're doing is we're doing a moon wave, but we're opening up our hands and we're lifting up. And as we lift up, what's going to happen is it's going to put force for the chucks to move on their own. Like if I held it still, they don't have much force. But the more I move it upwards, the more they kind of want to run into each other because I'm lifting, which is causing the chucks to go downward, right? So with this move, we're doing a moon wave, but we're lifting upwards to kind of create this motion on its own. Once this happens, so we're basically from this one, we're opening our hands and we're closing it the moment our hands reach the highest pinnacle of where we need to go. It can be as high as you want it. It can be this high or this high, right? Whoosh, whoosh. Another thing you can do is the dribble from here. And this one, you don't catch it, you just bounce it. So in this one, you're basically, every time the chucks come back to your hands, you're just patting it down with your hands. Pat, pat, pat. And you can eventually make it like like a basketball dribble, like this. This is called the dribble. It's a moonwave variation, so we have line isolation. The way that this works as you're coming down is you're kind of, as you're going down, you're kind of pulling outward like this. Whoosh. And that allows the chuck, because if you go straight down, it doesn't want to open as much because you're fighting the resistance of the chuck. So you kind of have to pull outward to get them to separate. So we're kind of pulling this direction. And in one fell swoop, it goes up to down, up to down. And then, of course, we've got the dribbles too. And then the last thing I'll show you with chain manipulations is the sun wave, which is just like the moon wave. It's like with the thumbs, except for we're going for our pointer finger. So what happens here is we kind of twist our wrists so the chucks are facing, so our pointer finger's at the bottom of it. And we do the same thing, one hand slightly in front of the other. And it's the same concept. We pop it up and down, except for it's over our pointer fingers. Now, why does it matter if it's over the pointer fingers? Because with the pointer finger, when we unlock it, we can unlock it at much more, we have a lot more options for angles. So let me show you what I mean by that. You pop it, you lock it, and you're at this really cool angle. From here, we can take it anywhere. We can go sideways, and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna push our arms forward, but then we're gonna open up our hands, and then we're gonna pull backwards in order to get it to unlock. So we lock it, turn, push, and pull. You can go any direction. So you can go up, side. Of course, I got this one too, behind the head. You can come up with anything. You probably can even do it behind your back. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is you lock it with your fingers. Your pointer fingers have a lot more twist and turn as opposed to thumbs. It's really hard to, you can get away with it, but it's a lot harder to get these angles with your thumb. A lot easier with your pointer fingers. Feels more like a Hadouken. Hadouken. All right, so I hope that helps, Charles. I hope that was what you were asking for even, but let me know. And then Eric says he was having troubles with throws with nunchucks. And part of the problem with throws with double nunchucks, I believe he had mentioned he was having problems throwing double nunchucks. The problem with throws with double nunchucks is you have less space and time to react. So with a single nunchuck, I can throw my whole body into it. It's a lot easier for me to be able to throw this. But the moment the other hand gets into play, your body has less to do with it, because if you throw your body into one side, the other chuck has to compensate for the body motion too. So this one is a little bit more like your body's locked into place more, which can cause throws to be a lot harder. The easiest throw that I can recommend comes from the 3-beat weave. And then we pull it out into what I call the crank position. And basically all this is it's kind of like we're doing a 3-beat weave. We turn 90 degrees, but we just do circular spins. They don't touch each other. And if you really look, while my hands are in different places, one hand's even forward a little bit more. This is an exaggeration, but you can see that the hands are in different places, because if they're in the same place, they'll crash into each other. So if they're in the same place, they'll crash, but if one's slightly ahead of the other, they won't, right? So once we get to this point, the best way that I can talk about like a doubles throw for starting is getting your arm underneath the other one. So whichever hand, for this one, it won't be the right, because the right hand would go to the top. There's no way to get underneath it without it. I mean, you could, but it's going to be like some sort of anti-spin throw, which that's a whole nother ballpark. If we're going counterclockwise, the left hand's going to go underneath like this. And really the trick to getting a good throw, there's a couple things you can do. One, grab lower. The higher you are to the balance point, the harder it's going to be to pull off tight throws. So grab a little bit lower so you're below the balance point. When I say the balance point, I'm assuming you guys know, but kind of the center of balance of the chuck, you want to be behind it. You want to be slightly behind it. You don't want to be in the center of it, because it's not much different than if I had a staff and I tried to throw from the center. You can do it, but it's more wrist twist. But the farther out I go, the easier it just wants to let me drop this. The easier it just wants to throw itself. So here this takes no wrist twist. It just takes me to lift my hand and open it, because the balance is you're grabbing off balance, which causes it to want to rotate itself. Just the moment you grab it on the center, it doesn't want to flip or rotate. It just kind of goes upwards on its own. And it's the same with the nunchucks. You need to keep that rotation going. So if you hold it by the balance point, it's not going to have much rotation. You're going to lose a bit of your control. So you grab it around the center point instead. And then when you go under, what you also have to do is control the way that it flies, or it's going to either fly to the side or straight up, but it's not going to go the direction you want. So I always say, like, imagine a capital G, because like if I was to spin around my arm, here's the start of the G, and it comes down to the end, and then it pulls back. Now this pull back is where you have to let go. So it's here, pull back ever so slightly, and open your hand simultaneously. If you grab below the balance point, it will naturally rotate, so you don't have to add rotation to it. If you grab the balance point, you have to add rotation. So you grab in the center, pull it back, open your hand, and explore how much force you need to do to bring it over to the other side. The harder you pull and the lower you grab, it's gonna change. Well, let's try that. It's gonna change things. So that's the big trick, is understanding, figuring out where along that line it is, and why the camera's out of focus. Come on now, hold on. I got an idea. How's that? Cool. So I was trying to focus on the light in the back. So from a little bit faster standpoint, whoosh, like that. Or if we're going the other way, whoosh. The way this works is one hand is sticking out more so it doesn't crash, and then the other hand goes under and pulls backwards like a G. Right? It's just a matter of fine-tuning that throw. Or if you're going in split ops, you can just do it forever. If you're going split opposites where like you're doing the hand rolls like this is a great setup for just doing infinite throws without having to do anything except whichever hand's on bottom just swings under the arm, whichever hand's on bottom just swings under the arm, pulls back, and the other hand pulls back, and pulls back. That's going a little bit further, but just showing you where it leads to. For now, just kind of go with that G method. I feel like that's a good way to do it, and make sure your grip's not too high. And holy moly, similar props that borrow techniques from chucks. And I would say the best prop that borrows techniques from chucks is going to be poi for doubles and staff for singles. So many different moves, like, oh my gosh, I love Flotoy's staff so much. So many different moves are very similar. For instance, we can do back-to-back hand rolls. Now you're going to notice it jumps, so there might be some modifications. But if you go over to chucks, same technique, right? Same technique. Whoosh. Same technique. Here, then we can grab the staff. We have to figure out where the center line is, though, because you have to imagine that this is going. The center line is where the rope would be with the nunchucks, but you can do very similar things. Now, some things are different. For instance, if we do anti-spins with, wow, now this is making it blurry. If we do anti-spins with a chuck like this, you have to do it a little bit differently because the staff cannot bend like that. There's no rope for it to bend, but there's still a way to make an anti-spin. This is the same effect from the staff point of view. So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Let's think. You cannot moonwave with a double staff or with a single staff like that. Unfortunately, the best thing you might be able to come up with is like shoot. I don't know if I have this. The best thing you might be able to come up with is coming up with like a variation of where they're crossing into each other, and then you swing out which hand. So I'm basically just making an X with my arms like this. But then as I cross over, I just exchange which hand's in front and which hand's in back. And that can be really mesmerizing. Let me see if I can turn this on. I think this was charging, so I don't have the caps on it right now. Just give me a second here. Come on, you. There we go. So that is a variation that you can do. Is kind of like, it's not exactly like a moonwave, but I feel like that might be the most similar. Problem is we don't have any rope on these, so. Outside of that, very obviously poi is a huge one. Poi's a huge one, but staff I feel like has the most in common. So most people that use chucks, their second prop is very often staff or rope dart. Rope dart's another good one, but they have much less in common. There are some moves where rope dart and chucks cross over, but not nearly as much as poi or staff. I feel like poi and staff are the big ones. So hopefully that helps. All right, so I've caught up with the questions that we asked earlier. Now I'm gonna continue down and see if we have any more. Eric says, "You do so much for everyone. Thank you." Thank you for mentioning it. First, Jocker says, Great live stream. I love how you communicate with your fans and students. You've helped me a lot with your tutorials for beginners. After that, I taught myself some things thanks to you. That is awesome. You should show me a video one of these times. If you guys want to mail me any videos of your progress, as long as you don't mind me sharing it with everyone on Sunday, normally on Sundays on the live stream, it's ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. Happy to review or take a look at it. Can give critiques or we can just appreciate it. I enjoy watching people's flow. I think it's great. It's, to me, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. The two kinds of people I love watching the most are people that are really good. Obviously, everyone likes that, right? But people make the mistake of thinking that, like, that's it, right? So people that are really good because they have put in the time to craft their art and say something. And I feel like when they're ready to say something, I love that, right? And then the other thing that I love are people that, I don't want to say fail a lot, but sometimes the people that just aren't getting it, but they keep going anyways. Those are my two favorite people to watch. I love watching it. I love watching people succeed. And even if they aren't, if they're just connecting with themselves, then it doesn't matter anyways. It doesn't matter how good you get as long as you use it as a tool to understand yourself or to move with yourself. Then I love your video. So there. Really, it's just like having money, right? It's like you can have all the money in the world, but it's how you spend it that it's really important, you know? So I like it when people are philanthropists or they spend it and make really cool things. That's all. All right. Charles, it's a lifetime of work, a lifetime of love. Yep, I can agree. Carlos, do you recommend me to get fire chucks if I have experience with nunchucks and I know how to control them good? I feel like, okay, so when people ask me, do you think I should get fire chucks? I'm always going to say, no, don't get fire chucks, because the reason why I say that is it's a dangerous prop. And then the other reason is you'll know if you want to get into fire dancing, but I wouldn't try not to encourage anyone to get into it unless they felt like this is what I want to do. And then I would say, yes, you should do it. But if you ever asked if I think you should, unless I'm actually there to help you, just because I don't know who's in your, like, I don't know who you'd learn from, you know, I don't know the safety protocols used. It's hard for me to ever say, yeah, you should do it, just because I don't want anyone to get hurt. So from that, if fire dancing was not dangerous, I would always say, yeah, this is the coolest thing ever. But my biggest concern is always safety, and I never want to hear a story where one of my people watched my videos and burn themselves because they got eager. So I'm very, very cautious about how I talk about fire dancing. When you no longer ask that question, if you no longer have to ask yourself that question, if you're like, you know what, I want to do this, that's when you should do it. But if you have to ask, I would say don't do it then. Don't do it yet. Wait it out a little bit. Maybe look at videos and see if this is something for you. But it's just not anything I can encourage just because of the danger of it. It can... And people that fire dance can sometimes shrug off those dangers, but I mean, I have known people that have died from fire dancing, so it's still a caution that you have to, like, be very aware. It doesn't happen often, but it still happens. So yeah, not to discourage you at all, but just wait until you absolutely feel ready, and then find your fire troop, find your people, make sure they're good and professional and safe, learn it, and rock it out, do some performances. All right. Alpha Zero Omega says, a little off topic, but I noticed one of your desktop icons was the Arduino IDE. Do you do programming and use microcontrollers? Why, yes I do. How did you know? Wow, that was a really good. Here, I'll show you. That was a really good notice. Yeah, you noticed a lot. Here, hold on, I'll show you. Give me a second and I'll show you what I just did with the Arduino, but it's not going to be ready yet. So that's crazy you saw the Arduino on my desktop though. Yeah, I also use Touch Designer a lot. So, you know, I run my own entertainment group, so I'm always looking for ways that I can, like, up to the next level. And honestly, I'm going to use the Arduino with nunchucks, but I'm not going to share it yet until it's ready, but I'm going to do some pretty cool things with nunchucks. Yeah, I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second though, Alpha. Oh, it's ready. All right, check this out. I just built this with my Arduino and Touch Designer. This is my box. This is my box. See? It has like little sensors on it. Let me turn this up. Touch sensitive, so I just have to touch it. And yeah, that was my latest Arduino project. What people don't see is the backside of the project is wires. You guys can see it. You can see it's an Amazon box that I just taped over, and you can see the little Arduino in the back, and here's my little battery. Totally portable, wireless controlled. I'm always working on this type of stuff because for me, when I talk about taking performances to the next level, it's not about learning the next big move for me anymore. Like, I don't want to learn bigger moves. I'm still learning, but just not as much. I'd rather like have glowing nunchucks or be able to program my nunchucks to do crazy things like control the lights or control sound or even build like one of these crazy boxes and do that, you know, before I spin or whatever. I don't know. So my thought is just grabbing other sources into performances and bringing that into a performance to enhance everything. So there you go. That was, I just built that like yesterday. Well, a couple days ago. So, all right. Eric says this is helping so much. Killer. Awesome. Well, what's that staff called? That is a Vision staff by Flow Toys. By the way, if you guys ever go on Flow Toys, I do have the code back up, but it's Flowtrix. You can use the coupon code Flowtrix, and I believe they give you 5% off with any purchase, as well as they give me a little bit of cred too, which is really nice. So if you ever do order from Flow Toys, you can get 5% off by using the coupon code Flowtrix. So Carlos, yeah, Vision stuff. It's their brand new one. It's not the cheapest stuff, but man, is it beautiful. So good. But Flow Toys has a really good reputation. They have a lifetime warranty on just about all their products. They're a fantastic company. I've never had problems with them. So it's great. I was really hard on their products for a long time, and they've always were kind and replaced them and helped me out. So they're good. They withstood my nunchucking, so that's good. Yeah, definitely going to send you a video then. Please do. Yeah, send me a video. That sounds great. Eric says, just curious, do you do tutorials on rope darts? I've never done a tutorial on rope dart, but I feel like Frank Hatzis of the Rope Dart Academy has everything you need to know. My problem is I don't know the names of the moves because most of the things that I learn is from self-exploration. It's not from watching videos, or I'll watch a video and I'll try to duplicate it, but I don't actually know what the techniques are called, which is why it's great that I was leading the way with nunchucks, because I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't know what the names were if I watched, like, I just don't know. Like, I know like 3-beat weaves and I know some of those, but most of the names that I use are just made up names just to help me remember, just because I don't actually know. My strength is the ability to just connect ideas together. I think that's probably one of my biggest strengths, which allows me to create new moves or new ideas all the time. I'm able to like come up with new things just because that's how I connect it. But I'm really bad at learning from others, which is really funny because I may not be able to take my own videos. Like, if I just picked up nunchucks right now and there was a Ken Hall teaching all the chuck tricks, I may not be able to learn off him just because it's just not my learning style. My learning style is just lock myself in a room. Maybe someone will give me one idea, but then I want to explore it thoroughly in my own way. It's kind of funny. So learning to teach you guys has been a challenge. I don't know if you guys have been around since my old videos, but they were pretty bad the way I would describe it, because I didn't know how to break things down. So it's taken me a while to be able to do that. It's a feeling thing for me. IKFlow, Ken, what percentage of your learning now is from your own exploring versus learning through research, teachers, or watching other people? I would say about 90%, and that's always been the case. It's always been the case except for my sear wheel. The sear wheel is the big difference, because with sear wheel, it doesn't work unless you have it, like unless you know, like it's just almost like doing a handstand. You can't make up a handstand, like what it takes to do a handstand. So with nunchucks, there's a lot of exploration with staff and all that. 90% of my moves are just like me locking myself in my room, or maybe watching someone, but not really trying to break it apart too much. I rarely watch videos on from teachers. It's just not my learning style. But once in a while I do, but it's not often. Halikoa says, Fei Hong Prime and Flow Mayhem have some great rope dart tutorials too. Oh yeah, gotta give shout outs to Flow Mayhem. I know her. I don't know Fei Hong Prime. I'm sure there's a very deep and wide scope of rope dart users. My whole thing is I would consider myself with rope dart, I would consider myself a beginner. I mean, the thing is I do have a lot of moves that can transition over from other moves, so I can make it look like I know what I'm doing. But there are a lot of staff and nunchuck and poi moves. There's not as much as rope dart moves, so the level of skill that I have with it is a lot lower. I could definitely teach a couple things though, but I just have a feeling that Frank and them might be able to come with a more comprehensive overview of rope dart, because my understanding of it comes from other props mostly, not from the rope dart itself, and my own explorations, of course. Hey, what's up, Seth? My son is on. That's great. Welcome. You come to learn, or are you here to test your old man? Well, that's awesome. It looks like that I have caught up with all the questions right now. If I had my rope dart, I'd bring it out, but it is tucked away right now. I bring out and show a couple things. I only know a couple things. Most of them are wraps, though. I'm not really good at the shoots. I just like the wraps. And some of that just comes from learning poi and whatnot, too. It's hard to get nunchucks involved with rope dart just because you would need a longer rope, which is why poi can sometimes work a little bit better than chucks when transitioning with rope dart. I think if you're using nunchucks and you want to transition over, though, it is a really cool, you could go either way. Staff or rope dart I feel like are great. They're both martial arts weapons still, so you still got that fierce flair. And rope dart seems to be all the hype right now anyway, so it might be cool to learn and just jump on it and check it out. Eric says, thank you for that info, and Seth says, here to learn. Well, that's awesome. Unfortunately, we've running out of questions here, so if you guys have more questions, please send it forward. I'm going to go check my Facebook really quick because I just realized I didn't. It's been a minute since I checked to make sure that no one left anything. Good news is no one left anything, so obviously YouTube is where most of my people come. So, but if you do have any questions about the tricks that I do, we've still got about 15 minutes or so left, or any question really. If you want to talk about performing or Arduino or anything like that, let me know. Now, performing, I guess, is kind of a hard subject since there's nothing happening. I even know a couple knife tricks, so there's that. I can show you guys some knife tricks if you want, or some nunchuck tricks, or staff, or double staff, or a little bit of boogang. I don't know. Got a few things. Just to keep things moving, though, so I'm not staring at a screen, let's just grab some chucks. Let's continue with the archer weave. I feel like, since we were talking about it earlier, let's just go back here. So we're doing the archer weave, and then you can go straight to crank from there. So archer weave to crank. Now, we already went over the archer weave, but I'm going to cover this really quickly again. The archer weave, your arm is extended like this. You make a circle to the top. You swing down to a circle to the bottom, and then you swing to a circle to the outside. Boom, 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 right? So as we do this weave, we're just kind of varying between these motions. Now, I'm not going to get into this too much, so if you just join me, you're just going to have to bear with me if you don't know what this move is. But we can always pull it straight out into this motion too, just like you can with a 3D weave. Whoosh, whoosh, right? From here, we're going to go over a couple of throws here, because I think it's nice. Here, just swing it under. So as you can see, the moment I get to crank, I don't even have to go to this. My left hand can swing straight under and do a throw. So I'm here, swing it under, and we can do that throw. Now, we worked on this throw already. Remember, it kind of moves in a G-like fashion, starts at the top, makes a C, but then you pull backwards and you open your hand, whoosh, which allows the chuck to fly your direction. You gotta remember to give it that little bit of pullback. You can do that straight from an archer weave though, so here, straight into it. You don't have to go into the crank position to start with. So here, and the moment you swing outward to this point, just go straight under and go straight for it. Whoosh, bam, like that. So archer weave, swing it straight through. And one nice thing is you can do this move forever. So the moment you catch it, you can go back. Just try to catch it in a mid grip so you can go back to this. And you can do this forever. And one nice thing that you can do is kind of use your other arm and extend it in an extended circle like this. And every time that your hand crosses under, you do a throw. So we'll go to here, archer weave, throw, catch. Now, the thing is we need to give you enough time for this to catch, which is why we extend our arm. So now, let me just move this out of the way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same move, but you're going to see that you can just throw this thing forever and ever as long as my arm extends and goes nice and slow. Oops. Missed the grab on that one. But that's kind of how it works, is if you do an extension with your other hand, so your arm is locked out while you spin it, it'll give you enough time to grab it underneath and get the throw off. Halikoa, I'm curious about the Arduino project. I've been combining my love of fire spinning and my love for making live electronic music. I'll have videos soon. Oh, that's great, yeah. I've been programming for about 2 years now. Actually, if you guys want to see what I've been working on, go to my Instagram account. My Instagram is, just look up Ken Hillfire, KenHillFire, Ken Hillfire. If you look that up, you will see that I have 2 years of programming and coming up with cool stuff. I'll give a couple examples here. Like for instance, this is me using a sensor, Connect sensor, to manipulate fire, well, digital fire. And I've got a lot of these examples. That thing you saw with the drum was actually a bigger idea, which was this. I know this is probably kind of small to see. This is just because we're on. But you can see from this example, I'm actually controlling smoke as well as LEDs whenever I hit it. So like lights are shining on me as well as this. So I do a lot of these types of things for explorations. My thoughts is, again, I'm always thinking bigger. Like, how can we go bigger with something, right? And sometimes to go bigger, you go bigger than the whole art itself, because art, nunchucks, anything, is just movement, right? But when you're performing, it's what the audience sees and hears. It's their senses. So that means that you have other options to reach people when you're performing outside of just your movement, because it's what they see, hear, feel, taste, touch, whatever. I use the Arduino, I use projections as a way to enhance my performances, basically. And my goal is to build one of the coolest routines ever and to have lights flashing around me where I've controlled all of it. Like, I've controlled every element of it. I think it's going to be great. Maybe I'll pitch it to like America's Got Talent or something. That'd be kind of cool, right? I don't, who knows? But all I know is for me, that's kind of where my progress is going. Also, this is just a total side note, but being 43 as a performer, especially someone that spins hard and fast, I want to make sure I have my bases covered in case I ever get injured. Because if I do get injured, at this age, they last longer. You know, even though I look young, I mean, I still have to make sure that like I'm covered and that I'm good, and that if an injury doesn't hold me down. So the technology aspect will definitely keep me working, which is another bonus for me. But having the whole shebang of movement as well as flow as well as technology, I just think it's a great marriage, you know? Okay. Halikoa says, does the Arduino use MIDI? Can you make nunchuck MIDI controllers? So I'll just tell you right now, probably the next thing I'm going to be working on is an accelerometer for the nunchucks. And then I'm going to do something very simple. It's just going to be able to control the speed of a song. So if I spin the nunchuck faster, the song should play faster. And if I spin it regularly, it should just play the song at regular pace. I'm going to experiment with that and see where that goes. After my birthday. This week is pretty busy, but probably next week I'll start ordering the sensors to do it. I don't use MIDI. I use Open Sound Control, OSC, to communicate with everything. And I'm able to do it wirelessly, which is great. Because obviously with the nunchuck, you can't have a wired connection. It would be you just destroy everything. Yeah. Santiago says LED nunchaku. Yeah. You know, if people didn't already build such great ones, I probably would build a LED chuck. But just because it's so great, like Flow Toys, and also we can't forget our good old Ignis. Those Pixel Poi are amazing. So like I haven't really thought terribly hard about LED chucks, but I have thought about like LED controlled poles and backgrounds where it can flare and light up while I do my LED chucks for sure. Ike Flow, awesome, love Electro. Yeah. Alpha Zero Omega says, I find occasionally my hands slip and I sometimes find myself grabbing the rope dead center. So you need an escape. I love how it just came straight, like my brain just like, boom, you gotta escape. You've gotta find an escape for this. Every time you make a mistake with the chucks, instead of trying to correct it right away, look at your chucks and see if there's a technique you can go straight into. Because whenever I mess up, I usually go to chain unwinders, and most people don't even realize it. Now that you've seen it, you can probably go over to some videos and you'll see sometimes I grab the rope or my hand slips too, but the moment it goes to the rope, I'm going straight into chain unwinders, doesn't even look like it slipped. So like, find techniques whenever you make a mistake. See if there's a technique that you can do that makes it worth it. I've said this before, but like, if your hand's grabbing the rope, try a chain unwinder. See if you can get it in motion, and it won't even look like anything happened. Of course, you can address the slipping of your hand, but it's also, so there's two things to address. You address the slipping of your hand, and you address what happens if you do make that mistake. How can you keep the flow going? Usually you'll find there are ways. Even if your wrists grabs the chain like this, oh no, I've grabbed the chain, you know, like you do a throw and you mean to grab it, but your hand slips and it's around your wrist, you can still like do a pop to get it back in motion. So from here you can still throw a chuck, you can still get it in motion. If you're doing it and oh gosh, my hand slipped and I grab it, just don't stop. Just keep going with the motion, and all of a sudden it's a chain unwinder and no one even notices, and you don't even notice eventually. Eventually your flow is like whoop, roll with it. Kind of like when someone throws you in martial arts, people that know how to roll with it, they might even be able to roll themselves right back up to their feet. It's kind of a similar thing. Not like a break fall, but a break fall would be similar to where if you just drop it and everything stops, and then you use a cartwheel to pick it up or something cool like that. So have options for when you make mistakes, and then the mistakes won't be nearly as important. You can still work on fixing whatever problems are happening, but having outs is very good. It's very good. It's a very good thing to work on. He also says, I can transition to a figure eight type of thing by rotating my wrist, but I really don't know where to go from there to get my hands back into position. So let's talk about this for a second. If you can transition to a figure eight type thing by rotating your wrist, you don't know where to go from there to get your hands back into position. What are you trying to, what's the move that you're trying to accomplish? I'm assuming it's not a figure eight. Are we talking about the archer weave? I've been finding that occasionally my hands slip, and sometimes I might have missed the technique that you mentioned for that. But I can say that whenever your hands slip out of position, or most of the time when there's bumps, it's a plane thing. A lot of times when there's mistakes, it's planes. The ability to make very straight lines and circles, having control of the, I always like to think of when you have a chuck, you're actually controlling the opposite tip. If you know where this always is in space, then you usually have control of your chuck. So one goal, whenever there's problems, obviously one thing you can do is just try to work through it through repetition, but also focus on the end of the chuck you're not holding, and always see if you can have control no matter where it is. Always see if you can have it extended out, extended in, do whatever you need to do, use this, but always see if you can always control this side of the chuck, the opposite side of the chuck, because this is going to be your problem chuck. This will be easy, you're holding it. So your whole focus should be, how can I like feel connected, almost like imagining that your arm is reaching out and grabbing this end. If you can visualize that, it may help you to understand like what you need to do to keep control of the chuck. I'm not sure why it's slipping. You may be able to, maybe you can send me a video, and then the next time we do a live stream, I can take a look at that and we can see what exactly is happening. Maybe you have a slippery chuck. I know I've used some chucks that are pretty slippery, and especially when my hands get sweaty. Not all chucks are equal. When my hands are sweaty, sometimes my hands will slip down, and there's that. And it's just like, yeah, okay. And in that case, if your hand's slipping because the chuck's slippery, the only thing you can do in that situation, well, you can do things to keep your hand from sweating, but you may just need to tone down your speed too. Your speed might just be pulling the chuck out of your hand. So, I mean, we've got options, but without seeing the video, it'll be kind of hard. So send me a video. Again, my email is ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. Be happy to take a look, and we can review it next time we have our live stream, which I'm thinking is a week from this Sunday, but we'll see. We'll see. I may announce a different one too. Halikoa says that sounds killer. Can't wait to see and hear it. Thank you. It's 2 years of my life. That's for sure. I've dedicated 2 years of my life to technology, but I feel like, like that's where the future's headed, and I feel like I want to, like, for me, it's like I don't want to keep. The way that my brain works is I always want to keep doing new things. So I can be making new nunchuck moves too, but for me, I want to make new experiences and new thoughts and new ideas all the time. So the idea of using technology to help with performances just to me sounds fascinating. It's like a whole nother ballpark, a whole nother world. If I was younger, I'd probably learn tricking and flips and all that. That's probably what I would have learned next. But since I'm a little bit older and I want to like conserve my energy, conserve my body a little bit more, make sure I don't get injuries as much, I'm going to do the technology thing. I think that'll work really nice. All right. We are getting near the end. I'm just gonna keep going here. Ikeflow says, is there a sound sensitive LED staff? Not that I know of, but yes, I could totally build one. But I just haven't. A sound sensitive LED staff, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I could definitely build one of those. I'm trying to find this thing. Give me a second here, I'll show you. I like that we're talking about technology though. That's really fun. I'm gonna see if I can find this really quick here. Here, watch, I'll show you. This right here is sound-driven LED strips that I use. Let's see. I got no sound. You can't see it, but these are LED strips connected to batteries. So it's all wireless, so nothing's connected. The only wires that are there are the LED strips are connected to each other so they can communicate with one another, and then they're connected to batteries so they can move. And you can see my hand is controlling it here. So I've got the ability to use sound or motion to control LEDs already, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so there is some technology. What's this? I think this is my son spinning. Let me just see. Oh, nope, this is me. This is another demo of using LEDs creatively. Like, all this stuff could be really great for performances and whatnot. I have thought about like actually talking a little bit about how to integrate and how to make these things on Flowtrix, but I just feel like it's so out of the realm of nunchuck spinning that it may isolate a lot of people. Maybe one of these days I will, but it would be more of a side project if I wanted to introduce that kind of technology in, just because it's very, very different than nunchucks. So, but I could build a staff that's sound reactive. I could build a staff that is movement based, and I could build a staff that where I could just touch buttons like this thing. Super easy. It's all ready to go. Just have to find a way to use it right. That's all, really. Yeah. All right. Hi ho, Wisconsin Joe. Hey Ken, you've always been live while I'm at work, but I sneak a few minutes and watch it when it's posted. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for watching. Ikeflow, a touch one would be cool. I agree. There's just so many crazy places where we could go with this, like touch, sound, motion, height, even the weather. You can have it influenced by the weather. I don't know. There's a lot of things, but anyways. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to say too. You probably have noticed already, but my life is still Flowtrix when it comes to making a living. Performing is still pretty dead. It's starting to move a little bit, but if you like what you see, this has been my passion for 10 years. I've got a little tip jar if you appreciate what you've watched, and if you have a little extra yourself that you don't care to donate, give me a cup of coffee. That'd be amazing. A one-time tip is paypal.me/Flowtrix, and you can just send it one time. And then I also have over 100 exclusive videos on my Patreon page, as well as we do Zoom classes every Thursday where I get to see you spin live and you can see me spin live, and we help each other out live on Thursdays. Again, this week's the only week where things are a little bit different, just because it's my birthday, so I have to rearrange things. But that's usually what we do every week. Yeah, so if you like the videos, and if you appreciate Flowtrix and you have a little bit of extra that you want to help to keep things going and to help keep me going, please consider a donation below. Either way, I appreciate it, and like I've said before, I'm still going to do it regardless, because it's not about the money. Although I do need to make a living, it's really not about the money. It's about like helping people and giving people the tools to be awesome and to have to express himself, and some to perform, and some to like win martial arts tournaments. That's awesome. All that's awesome. Anyways, it's always good to chat with you all. Thank you all for watching. Like I said, it's my birthday week, so it's going to be a little bit challenging for me to get some material out this time around, just because there's a lot of planning that has to happen, and I'm still trying to squish a couple more things in, personal things in this week. So it's a bit of a zoo, but it's going to be a great week. So I hope you all are well, and you can message me anytime, and I'll write back. Till then, take care, and talk to you all soon.